If you've ever walked through a modern supermarket and noticed that every tomato, carrot, or cucumber looks identical, that's not a coincidence. It's by design. The disappearance of diversity has weakened both soil and nutrition. Over the past 50 years, industrial agriculture has narrowed down what we eat to just a handful of crops that ship well, store long, and look uniform on a shelf. In that process, hundreds of nutrient-rich, resilient, and flavorful vegetables disappeared from our tables. The industrial food system values yield and uniformity over taste and resilience. Hybrid crops are bred to withstand long transport, resist certain diseases, and ripen uniformly for mechanical harvesting. But that comes at a cost. Many heirloom and indigenous vegetables were abandoned because they didn't fit that system. They might bruise easily, take a little longer to mature, or produce smaller fruits, but they're often richer in nutrients and better adapted to local conditions. When agriculture became industrial, farmers stopped saving seeds from their own regions and started buying patented ones instead. The result? We lost not only flavor and nutrition, but also the genetic diversity that helps soil ecosystems thrive. The soil doesn't just feed plants, it co-evolves with them. The disappearance of old vegetable varieties means fewer root types, less microbial diversity, and weaker natural pest resistance. Root crops were the first victims of uniform farming. Carrots used to come in purple, white, red, and yellow before the Dutch standardized them into the orange variety we all know. Purple and black carrots contain anthocyanins, powerful antioxidants you won't find in modern hybrids. The same goes for parsnips and turnips, which were once as common as potatoes but fell out of favor because they don't fit neatly into packaging lines. Then there's salsify, often called the oyster root. It produces long, slender roots with a mild, nutty flavor and thrives in poor soils. It disappeared from most markets simply because it looks uneven and takes longer to wash. Jerusalem artichokes, or sunchokes, faced a similar fate. They store carbohydrates as inulin instead of starch, which is harder for processors to handle. Yet they're one of the best crops for restoring soil life, producing abundant biomass and feeding beneficial microbes through their deep-root exudates. If you want to bring these back to your garden, dedicate one bed to forgotten roots. Mix sandy compost with native soil at a 1-to-1 ratio for drainage, and sow seeds like salsify, scorzonera, or heirloom parsnip varieties in late winter. Harvesting them enriches your soil's fungal network far better than modern root vegetables. Leafy greens lost their variety when yield replaced nutrition. Once upon a time, gardeners grew dozens of greens, amaranth, purslane, lamb's quarters, and miner's lettuce among them. These were naturally self-seeding, nutrient-dense plants loaded with calcium, magnesium, and omega-3s. Big agriculture ignored them because they don't package or transport well. Instead, we got iceberg lettuce, cheap to grow, low in nutrients, but easy to stack in boxes. Amaranth leaves, for instance, contain triple the iron of spinach and grow in poor, dry soil where lettuce would fail. Purslane has more omega-3s than most fish and thrives in compacted ground. The soil benefits too. These plants loosen hard crusts, increase organic matter, and attract beneficial insects. To reintroduce them, sow them as mixed greens between rows of slower crops. A small patch of purslane can reseed itself every season, acting as a living mulch. Keep the soil slightly moist for the first 2 weeks, then let nature take over. By combining old greens with modern crops, you're rebuilding soil biodiversity while feeding yourself better. Fruit vegetables were bred for looks and lost their natural resilience. Tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers have suffered the worst genetic narrowing. Heirloom tomatoes once came in ribbed, multicolored, and oddly shaped varieties, each with a unique flavor profile. Industrial breeders eliminated that variation to create tomatoes that can withstand mechanical picking and storage. The trade-off? They lost up to 40% of their original nutrient density and nearly all of their flavor. Old cucumber types like the lemon cucumber and Armenian cucumber grow with fewer pests because their skins contain natural bitter compounds that repel insects. Those compounds were bred out to make the fruits milder for consumers. In the process, the plants became more dependent on pesticides. If you want to break that cycle, save seeds from your strongest heirloom plants each season. Fermenting tomato seeds for 48 hours in a jar before drying helps select the most vigorous genetics naturally. Over a few seasons, your garden will adapt to its own environment instead of relying on factory-bred uniformity. Before chemical fertilizers, farmers rotated dozens of legumes, cowpeas, lentils, lupins, fava beans and pigeon peas, to restore nitrogen. But industrial systems simplified rotations to just soybeans and corn. The soil lost its balance and synthetic nitrogen became the substitute. Lupins, for example, not only fix nitrogen but also pull up phosphorus from deep soil layers, making it available for the next crop. That's something synthetic fertilizers can't replicate. In the home garden, adding these old legumes can transform your soil fertility. A simple ratio of 1 row of lupins or fava beans for every 3 rows of heavy feeders like cabbage or corn maintains nitrogen naturally. When the legumes finish flowering, chop them at ground level and leave the roots to decompose in place. You'll notice richer, looser soil within a single season. Forgotten vegetables are key to restoring soil health and food sovereignty. Big agriculture buried these 20 vegetables not because they failed us, but because they didn't fit the industrial mold. Yet they are the very crops that make our soils resilient, our food flavorful, and our ecosystems balanced. When you grow them, you're doing more than preserving history. You're rebuilding the foundation of sustainable agriculture. By diversifying your garden with old varieties, you feed your soil a more complex diet. Different root depths, microbial relationships, and nutrient cycles keep the ground alive year-round. The healthiest soils are those that host many species, not just one. So the next time you choose seeds, skip the glossy catalogue hybrids and look for the forgotten names. Salsify, amaranth, purslane, lupin, cowpea, black carrot, and miner's lettuce. Each one carries a story that big agriculture tried to erase, and each one helps your soil remember what true fertility feels like. If this guide inspired you to revive these lost vegetables, make sure to subscribe to Soil Doctor and share this video with other growers who believe in keeping diversity alive. Together, we can dig up what was buried and plant the future, one heirloom seed at a time.